Come on, let's do it. 7:22 a.m. Up and around. Did a little reading in bed. I've got my anti-bed head device on for your benefit. And I haven't even poured my coffee yet. It just finished dripping. But I'm already thinking about lunch. I don't know what I'm going to do for breakfast. I don't eat a lot of breakfast these days. I may have an orange, sometimes a little bit of oats or yogurt, maybe a hard-boiled egg. But I think more about like that midday meal these days. And this isn't going to be a super healthy one. However, it's that time of the year. If you look behind me, I think I mentioned more than once on this show, it's been a great tomato season in terms of volume, variety, but just a late ripening. Here we are in mid-September. But I got some beauties. Look at this guy. This is today's lunch. Now sure, this could be caprese. I had one even bigger than this that I took to, did I show it on that episode? I took it as a salad to a dinner potluck I went to this past weekend. This one, things I wait for every year, right? That was last episode. Of course I wait for this every year. And I can't believe it's mid-September and I have not yet had a BLT. Doing it today. Come on, let's do it. Come on, let's do it. All right, BLT. Can't make a sandwich without some bread, right? I don't know if we've done this one yet. We've had a couple of bread episodes, but this is one of my favorites. There's that favorite line again. King Arthur classic sandwich bread. Now, some people want their BLT on sourdough. That's fine. I want toasted white bread. This is just active dry yeast. I'm going 2 teaspoons in just a tablespoon of water. I just checked the temp. It should be a little higher. It should be closer to 108. You don't want to go over 110. You can kill your yeast. But this is 98. Should be warm enough. Just want to get it activated. I could already see if you look at the yeast there. Just from touching the warm water, it got slightly active. Alright, so we'll give that a couple of minutes to activate in the water. Because this is active yeast. This is not instant yeast. So you want to bloom it out in some warm water. And that'll take just a couple of minutes. It's already started. And that gives us time to get the rest of our ingredients together here. I already measured out 360 grams of King Arthur bread flour. And we're just going to put everything in this bowl together. Now, what I did here, I got a little stuff done in advance. 4 tablespoons butter. I already melted it. Let's get that in. Now, this is hot water, about 2/3 of a cup. That's a little closer to 3/4. Let me get some out. Here we go, 2/3. And this is quite hot. Because what we do is we combine. See, that's already 148. But then I have a 1/2 cup of milk here. And the milk is cold. So let's combine those. I'll use my teaspoon here to mix because it still has just a couple of grains of yeast on it. Now, let's see what the cold milk did. 111.2, we're fine. So let's get that in. And actually, you know what? That's such a nice temperature. I think we're going to do like a double bloom. Watch this. The yeast already started. Let's get it into the milk and help it continue its blooming process. Because 111 is just about perfect. Get all that yeast in there. We want a couple of tablespoons of sugar. You know, yeast loves sugar. It eats the sugar, which begins the fermentation process. So let's get 2 tablespoons. Regular old evil white sugar. get that yeast unclumped in here to continue its bloom. That's all right because we're about to mix it in with the flour. Let's get everything in. Temperature should be good. Make sure we get all that yeast. The rest off of this spoon here. Here we go. Now, just going to start a quick mix with the spatula, and then we'll get it on and really knead it up. A little bit of salt too. About 1.25 teaspoons. I can eyeball that. I pretty much know what a teaspoon looks like. There we go. That was the old Justin Wilson. You don't believe that's a teaspoon? All right. Came together nicely already, just with the spatula, which is a good sign. So let's knead this up. Nice and easy, and it's going to be about 5 minutes, 5-7 minutes. So we'll see you in a few. Okay, that's been a good at least 7 minutes, I would say. Let's pick this up. Dough is well kneaded. Oh, it's a wet, wet dough. And that is not a bad thing. I think I've mentioned in other bread recipes, I used to be afraid and start adding flour. Hydration is good for bread. It will all come together. It's nice and wet. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put it in our trusty rising vessel. And this should be well oiled. Now, a lot of times I use olive oil. I had a little extra butter off to the side from melting it. So I'm going to use butter to be consistent with the bread, right? We've got melted butter in the bread. I don't want to introduce the olive oil flavor. I did buy some avocado oil, which is pricey, but I think I'm going to start making all of my mayonnaise going forward with olive oil, and I wanted to do homemade mayo for this sandwich, but I'm not. We're going to use Mike's. One of the reasons is that I have enough left, so I might as well use it before I make a fresh batch of mayo. And the other reason is I cannot locate, I have my stick blender and I can't locate, I took it apart to clean it, I can't locate the blade. I have other style blades, but the one that I would use for the mayo is either around here somewhere or it got inadvertently tossed, which would be a total bummer. So at any rate, there's other ways to make the mayonnaise. I've made it in the Ninja. I made it in the food processor, the blender, but my favorite and most consistent way is with the stick blender. And I don't want to take a chance with the price of that avocado oil of not making an acceptable batch. So with the Mike's left, we will use that. So beautiful hydrated dough. Look at this. I'm going to give it a few stretches, a couple of folds, mainly to get that butter all over it so it doesn't skin over. Oh, this is going to be a nice loaf of bread. I can tell already. You bake enough bread, you know even at this stage what's going on with this dough. Super elastic. Look at that. All right. So now we're going to go for the initial rise. I'd say about 1 to 2 hours. You want it to just about double, a little less than double. And sometimes I would put this inside the oven, but I'm just going to leave it right here on the counter. And it's a little bit cool out now, mid-September. Cool temps. So I'm going to say about 2 hours. I will see you then. Okay, I didn't exactly set the timer or anything, but judging by the clock on the old wall, it's been at least an hour. It's been at least an hour and a half. Might be getting on 2. As you can see, the dough has puffed up very nicely. It's practically doubled. So let's now get this dough out. Just going to use a tiny bit of flour to keep it from sticking. I don't want to introduce too much flour to the dough because it's got a beautiful consistency. Nice hydration. And you'll know because it's going to come right out. It's kind of sticking, but remember we oiled this, so it should release. Okay, we got a little stuck in there, but no big. All right, that's coming right off the bottom. So we got a pretty good release, which means our dough rose nicely. Put a touch of this flour on top so we can work it. And now we're just going to punch it down, get some of that initial air out of it. And I'm going to make like a rectangle here. Fold it in on itself. Trying to get that air back in now. We punched it down. Now we're going to make like a log. And let's get our sandwich bread container here. Going to grease this up, a little butter. This is not melted butter, I'm just taking the end of a stick and giving it a good rub down. All sides, all surfaces. Now, let's take this, seam side down. I rolled it so there's not really a seam per se, but that's where I folded it. So let's put the seam side down. Sort of work it around to fill this thing. And now we got another at least hour's rise. And the idea is we want this to come up over the top. That's how you get that sandwich bread, little round top. So I'm going to take a plastic bag here. Just put a little flour on top. Put it in this plastic bag. We want the bag loose so that the bread can rise over the top. And now we go for our second rise. See you in an hour or as long as it takes for this to dome over the top. It has been an hour and a half, maybe even a little longer. I'm not really watching the clock, but we are going to put the timer on to bake. And that's our 350 on the oven. Perfect timing. So, as you can see, we rose above the top. And then we can do our little poke test. You want to poke, and it should come back out at not too rapid a level. See it coming back up? I can feel the air in that. So we're going right in that 350 oven for a half hour, 30 to 35, but I like to put the clock on 30 and keep an eye on it. I'll put it in, and then we're going to be on the stove top. Let me get this in the oven. Come on over. I put the timer on 30 minutes for the stove, and I like to cook my bacon real slow and low. I've got some non-nitrate bacon. Bacon is similar to, I think I mentioned pancakes. I maybe eat bacon a handful of times a year, and usually it's for this. If I have certain guests, I'll do a country breakfast. But I only buy bacon a couple times a year. So in we go. Doing it on the cast iron. I'm putting it in a cold pan. And I'm going to do one little sandwich on white toast. This is sandwich bread, so it's not like a big fat loaf of sourdough. I'm going to do 3 strips. They call this thick cut bacon, but it's not really. It's pretty thin. They're going to reduce down. I'm going to put the flame on, and I'm going to go to the lowest setting because our bread is in for at least a half hour. So that should give this time. We want this to render out and get kind of crispy. I almost thought about putting it on a rack and going right in the oven with the bread, but then to check on it, it necessitates opening the oven door. Not good for the bread. So we'll do it in this cast iron, and then I can pour the bacon grease out through a strainer, put it in a jar, pop it in the freezer. Alright, so we are on hold right now. I'll cook this bacon through. Nothing to see here. You've all cooked bacon. And half hour for the bread. Okay, that's 30 minutes. Let's have a look at our bread. Bacon's looking good. I'd give it a few more minutes. Crisp it up. I've been turning it. Let's take a look at this loaf. Oh, it looks like a beauty. Let's give it a tap. Yeah, I'm going to give it 2 or 3 more minutes to finish the inside. I'll bring it up, I'll put it on a cooling rack and finish the bacon, and I'll set up right here for the assembly. First BLT of 2025. I am excited. All right, I don't even know if this bread's cooled enough, but I can't wait any longer. Let's get inside it and see how it's doing. Start at this end. I'll just take a sliver off the end that I can toast in the morning. Nice sandwich crumb. And I'm looking at how thick my slices of bacon are. So I'm going to go with a standard sandwich width slice. Maybe that's, I don't know, what, a ½ inch? Not perfectly even, but now there's a little steam coming off. I should have waited. With bread, there's still stuff going on inside, but again, I haven't had much to eat today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close this up like so and let it try to kind of finish on its own off to the side. Meanwhile, I'll get these 2 slices in the Breville, toast them up, and we'll get everything else going. All right, well, this beauty is the inspiration for the whole sandwich. Now, I picked this at the blush stage, and it's been on my counter for several days, maybe close to a week. And then I'm going to cut it near the center because I don't want to get stem. And then this I'll put aside, and that I'll just chop into chunks for a salad. So let's get size of the bread. I think I just need 1 thick slice, really. That's the sandwich slice right there. I'll close this up. And there's our slice. Mike's Mayo, bacon. Now, full disclosure, we did a BLT sandwich once before, maybe a year or so ago. Probably a year ago, because I do it every year with the tomatoes. And I think I was pretty adamant about using iceberg lettuce. Well, I don't have iceberg. I have green leaf lettuce. There are new iceberg plants actually just coming up to seed that'll grow into the fall. But this is from the market. Now I'm just going to put a few grains of kosher salt on my tomato while we wait for the toast. That'll begin to bring some juices out of it. All right, we've got our freshly baked King Arthur white sandwich bread. Oh, it smells incredible toasted. What a scent. I'm going to put some Mike's Mayo on each side. Ooh, just enough. This is a way to wrap up this jar. And then I'll make some fresh, homemade, with the New Girl's eggs and that avocado oil. But this is a way to say goodbye to this Mike's. Well, salt. Remember, there's some on the tomato, just a few grains. Black pepper. Now, let's lay this big, beautiful hunk of tomato on here. Look at that. Or bacon. QC. Lettuce. Okay, so it's not iceberg. It is lettuce. Close her up. I'm going to give her a cut. Yes, I'm going this way. No triangles here. And let's dress up the plate. It wouldn't be a BLT without some chips. Weak looking chips because I've been hitting the bag big time. It's the dregs. And then I'm going to put just a couple, because I love them, these bread and butter pickles right down here. All right, let's give this sandwich a try. BLT, bacon, lettuce, and that big, beautiful tomato. Oh. I'm in heaven. What is it about this combo, man? I'm gonna have to do a deep dive, try to figure out when this was invented, by who, where. Because if you think about it, okay, it's a farm thing. You're processing bacon probably from the pigs on a farm, tomatoes, but at least in my zone, tomatoes and lettuce don't really, I guess they do. I guess you could have, a lot of people, and I do it too, you plant lettuce underneath the tomatoes. But ripe tomatoes here, the lettuce is basically done and gone to seed. I don't know. I got to figure out why this sandwich came together. But it is a combo made in heaven. The mayonnaise, unbelievable. I've got to sit down and enjoy this. I'll see you all for the next episode. Come on, let's do it. Wrapping up the edits here. I'm sitting on the couch with the laptop. Don't mind the shirt. Been doing some painting around the property. This is one of my ratty housework, yard work shirts, and I've been painting. But interesting, I'm finishing up my edits, and I just did a little Googling, and I found some neat stuff about the BLT. Now, there's not much history on it. I checked several sources. Most are saying there's no real determination on who, how, when, where it originated, with the exception of they think it was an offshoot of the club sandwich, which I found out there's a cool article in Saveur magazine from September of 2023. I'm going to link that in the description box. Pretty cool article. And I learned something new. Apparently the club sandwich is attributed to the Saratoga Club right here in New York, about an hour north of me, Saratoga. So I found that to be an interesting fact. But anyway, while they couldn't pin down the BLT specifically, most people think it's an offshoot of the club sandwich. Anyway, read that article. It's pretty cool. So there you go, BLT. And the other cool thing about that Saveur article is he's a chef, and he's talking about, yeah, most people like iceberg, but I prefer green leaf. Yeah.